At my best friend's wedding, I fell in love with the bride's older sister at first sight. Since that day, I sent her messages every day to flirt with her. "Dr. Liu, what should I do if I can't sleep because I miss you?" She replied coldly, "Take a nap." Undeterred, I kept pressing, "Dr. Liu, why does my heart race every time I see you?" She gave a strictly professional suggestion: register for an appointment. After a while, I decided to just go for broke. "Dr. Liu, can I kiss you?" She replied, "Yes." Wait a minute, something feels wrong. My best friend Jiang Chuan and I have known each other for 20 years. At the age of 25, he married Lu Chu, the eldest daughter of the Lu family. The two of them went from school uniforms to wedding gowns, being each other's first love. I witnessed their love journey every step of the way. At this wedding, I had the honor of being their love guardian and was one of the people they thanked. Before the wedding, I even received a very generous red envelope and a pile of valuable gifts. The love from youth has finally come to a perfect completion. Lovers have finally become spouses. Looking at their happy faces at the wedding, I wept tears of joy. Men do not easily shed tears, only because they haven't reached the emotional moment. As I was sobbing, someone nearby handed me a tissue. I instinctively reached out to take it. But the moment my gaze fell, my hand suddenly froze. The hand holding the tissue was incredibly beautiful. The knuckles were distinct, slender, fair, and warm as jade. Seeing me dazed and motionless, the other person nudged it forward slightly. Only then did I snap back to reality, took the tissue, turned around, and looked up at the owner of the hand. With just one look, I fell in love at first sight. In my line of sight, the woman was slender, with bright eyes and white teeth, her gaze looking at me as quiet as a lake, calm and serene. Looking at that face, my heart raced uncontrollably. An unfamiliar excitement surged and clamored within my body. As I stared straight at her, she frowned slightly under my gaze. Seeing this, I quickly withdrew my eyes and gave her a polite smile. "Thank you." She politely replied, "You're welcome." Her voice was crisp and pleasant to hear. I observed her and realized her eyes and brows bore some resemblance to Lu Chu. A conjecture flashed in my mind, so I asked her, "Are you a relative of the bride?" She nodded gently. Without explaining too much, I actively reached out to her. "Hello, I am Pei Yu." She raised her hand to reply, but only held my fingers briefly before withdrawing, polite yet distant. "Hello, Lu Ruyan." Lu Ruyan, just as I suspected, was the great talented daughter of the Lu family. She had no interest in inheriting the family business and preferred to work hard in big companies. Holding a master's degree in finance, it was because of her refusal that the Lu family's business was handed over to the Jiang family. Lu Ruyan is 5 years older than me. Back in middle and high school, I heard many rumors about her, a student who had never ranked second. I had heard of her for a long time, but this was my first time meeting her. I also went to the affiliated high school. I used to hear teachers mention your name often. I didn't expect you to not only study well but also look so beautiful. I tried to get close, my words filled with praise. Lu Ruyan listened, wearing a faint smile. I wanted to say a few more words, but her phone rang. After answering, her face turned a bit sour, and she turned to leave. Almost instinctively, I reached out somewhat abruptly and grabbed her sleeve. Lu Ruyan paused slightly, turned around to look at me, and asked softly, "Is something the matter?" I nodded blankly, looked at her, and said very seriously, "There are 2 very important questions. May I ask if you are single? And are you a lesbian?" Lu Ruyan met my gaze and remained silent for a few seconds. She slowly pulled her clothes out of my hand. Although she probably didn't want to answer, out of politeness, she still replied, "Single, lesbian." But the rest of her words were swallowed back. Her phone rang again. "Sorry, I have an urgent matter." She answered the call, talking while walking quickly out of the wedding venue. As for me, because of her unfinished sentence, I was left scratching my head in suspense. But what? I never saw Lu Ruyan again after the wedding, but she remained constantly on my mind. This is the fourth time in the past half-month that I've visited my brother's house. Lu Chu finally spoke up. Pei Yu, don't you have anything else to do? Why do you run to my house every 2 or 3 days? Don't you have a life of your own? Putting on a hurt and miserable face, I patted my brother's shoulder and cried, are you discarding me too? When you need me, you call me a good brother, when you don't, you call me a third wheel. As expected, once married, friendships are gone. My brother hesitated. No, I'll never discard you. You are my most important brother. But every time you come. I raised my head, without a single tear in my eyes. What do you mean? Am I coming at the wrong time? Can't I just look for you whenever I want any more? This time, I really want to cry. Lu Chu gritted his teeth. Every time you come, it's right when we are doing the deed. You really know how to pick your timing. Suddenly, it all clicked. No wonder every time I visited, Jiang Chuan would blush, while Lu Chu's face turned dark. I quickly expressed my apology, then glanced at the sunlight outside and teased, watch your health, you too. Don't indulge too much. Are you really that eager to have a baby? My brother, being thin-skinned, secretly gave me a pinch. Lu Chu, who was thick-skinned, looked at me with a cold, mocking smile. Just stop coming to disturb our married life. I immediately agreed, sure. My breezy attitude left them both stunned. I couldn't blame them. I had a tall, mountain-like build. In the past, pursuers flocked to me like Christian carps crossing a river, yet I remained completely unmoved. To me, seeing women was just a hassle. Beautiful ones were annoying, and ugly ones were even worse. In short, we just couldn't communicate. Because of this, those people rumored behind my back that I wasn't normal, whispering that I liked men. Lu Chu doubted me at first too, because I got along exceptionally well with men and was close to handsome guys. But I was simply close friends with them. However, I've finally figured things out now. I looked at Lu Chu, grinned, and said, speaking of which, why don't you marry your older sister to me? Lu Chu was startled. My sister? That's right. For her, it was love at first sight, my first love blooming. Hurry up and congratulate me. In the future, I'll be your brother-in-law, making our bond even closer, one big happy family. I spoke loudly, already imagining a bright future in my mind. Lu Chu remained silent with a complex expression on her face, while Jiang Chuan, in his surprise, secretly tugged at my clothes. Unaware of why they looked so embarrassed on my behalf, I asked directly, why those faces? We know each other inside out and have been friends for years. Wouldn't it be great if I became your brother-in-law? Lu Chu cleared her throat and called out toward the door, Sister, you're here. I startled, turned my head, and my gaze met the calm eyes of Lu Ruyan. I wondered how much she had heard. Her expression remained unchanged. She glanced at us and said calmly, you guys chat. Then she turned around and left. I quickly stood up and chased after her. The Lu family's estate was huge. Each adult child had their own house, connected yet independent. I had been coming here frequently lately just to run into Lu Ruyan. I ran fast to catch up with her. Sister Lu, I called. She stopped and looked at me panting. Looking into her eyes and remembering my bold statement just now, my face turned slightly red. Suddenly, a fluffy object brushed against my leg. I let out a cry of surprise, leapt to Lu Ruyan's side, and grabbed her arm tightly. After a brief moment of losing my composure, I realized that Lu Ruyan was holding a leash with a small black puppy, which was wagging its tail furiously at me. Lu Ruyan gently pulled her arm away and said, Don't be afraid, it doesn't bite. So it was just a puppy. I breathed a sigh of relief. It happened too suddenly for me to notice. It was pitch black and didn't bark, just clinging to my trousers, making me think it was something else. I crouched down to play with it and looked up to ask Lu Ruyan, Are you raising it? She looked down at me playing with the puppy, her eyes flickering slightly as she replied, Lu Chu is raising it. Since I have some free time at home, I walk it for her. Hearing this, I secretly grumbled in my mind. Those two lovebirds were so engrossed in their romance that they didn't even walk their own dog, leaving it for Lu Ruyan to do. While walking the dog, I suddenly remembered why I had come to find Lu Ruyan. I took out my phone and held it in front of her. "Can I have your contact info, Sister Lu?" The word Sister Lu rolled off my tongue extremely smoothly. Lu Ruyan didn't seem used to this title of mine, casting a subtle glance at me. That look made someone as thick-skinned as me feel a bit self-conscious. She said softly, "Sorry, I didn't bring my phone." Lu Ruyan was wearing light-colored, casual loungewear with no pockets. I wasn't discouraged. "Then what about your phone number?" Lu Ruyan took my phone, her fingertips tapping lightly on the screen. My gaze followed her fingers, and I couldn't help but say, "Sister Lu, your hands are so beautiful." The fingers in my sight paused for a moment, but quickly returned to normal. After typing the number, Lu Ruyan handed the phone back to me. I happily took it. After returning home, I searched for Lu Ruyan's WeChat account through her phone number and clicked to add her as a friend. My note said, "Hello, Dr. Lu." I had already gathered information about Lu Ruyan through Jiang Chuan. She worked as a cardiothoracic surgeon at the Second City Hospital. Learning this made me both sigh and regret. The company I worked for was near the Second City Hospital, and I often met doctors there during lunch. My friend request note was carefully thought out. If I wrote my name, she might not accept, but with Dr. Lu, she would highly likely pass it. Half an hour later, Lu Ruyan accepted my request. At night, I sent her a message, "Sister Lu, I am pay you." 10 minutes later, Lu Ruyan replied, "Hello, Mr. Pei. You can just call me Dr. Lu." "Sure, Dr. Lu." An hour passed, and Lu Ruyan's chat box remained very quiet. I stared at my phone longingly. After thinking, I posted online, "Brothers, how to pursue a cold and aloof beauty. Waiting online, quite urgent." Within half an hour of posting, the comments exploded. Some advised me to just call her wife, as she would eventually become mine. Some said I must be proactive, and proactive. Others claimed there are no cold beauties, only coy ones, and I should keep chatting or use the push and pull method. After reading through the comment section, I fell deep in thought. At 11 p.m., I sent Lu Ruyan a message, "Dr. Lu. What if you suffer from insomnia later?" 5 minutes later, Lu Ruyan replied with 2 cold and concise words, "Encourage each other." It made me laugh. I messaged, "Dr. Lu, the moon is beautiful tonight." I heard this sentence is a high-level play for a subtle confession. But she replied, "Mr. Pei, today is the first day of the lunar month." Such a miscalculation, how embarrassing. Muffled thunder rumbled outside, and raindrops hit the window. I asked, "Dr. Lu, it's raining. Have you heard the song Rainy Day?" "No," she replied. All right, she's totally impenetrable." I tried again, "You didn't finish your sentence at the wedding last time. You said but what?" She replied, "But I'm very busy, please try not to disturb me." I gasped. Such an aggressive sentence, I didn't dare to ask further. Before going to bed, I posted on my moments. The caption was heartbroken, accompanied by a picture of a broken heart. Jiang Chuan sent me a private message asking what happened, while Lu Chu was wicked enough to leave a dozen ha comments in a row. The next time I saw Lu Ruyan was at a coffee shop near the office. When she walked in, my eyes lit up. Some people are a scenery just by existing. My eyes kept following her. Perhaps because my gaze was too direct and intense, after ordering coffee, Lu Ruyan turned around and looked back, her gaze landing precisely on me. I gave her a generous and bright smile. An unexpected look flashed in her eyes, and she nodded politely to me, with no intention of coming over to say hello or chat. Seeing Lu Ruyan about to leave after getting her coffee, I hurriedly called out, "Dr. Lu, over here." My hand waved in the air, conspicuous and impossible to ignore. Lu Chu once mentioned that her mother was born into a scholarly family. When Zhang's father took over the family business, the family was surrounded by wolves and undercurrents, so Zhang's mother left Lu Ruyan to be raised by her grandmother for a few years. Lu Chu said she had never seen a woman more proper and respectful of etiquette than her sister. Even if she didn't like someone, she would still maintain a polite facade. So with such an obvious greeting from me, Lu Ruyan wouldn't ignore it. Sure enough, after a moment of hesitation, Lu Ruyan changed direction and walked towards my seat. I looked at her approaching with a smile, my heart rate starting to spiral out of control again. Lu Ruyan sat opposite me, thought for a moment, and spoke, "Mr. Pei, we meet again." I smiled and replied, "Dr. Lu, we are truly destined." "Dr. Lu, do you like drinking coffee very much?" I asked. She gently replied, "Just to stay refreshed." I continued asking, "Is being a doctor very exhausting?" "I'm used to it," she answered briefly. The conversation between Lu Ruyan and me went back and forth, with me asking and her answering. She was even more taciturn than I had imagined. Obviously, I was just a stranger to her, so I needed to let her get to know me a bit more. I proactively initiated the topic. "Dr. Lu, you might not be familiar with me yet, but I have been close friends with your younger sister and Jiang Chuan for over 10 years. "I know," she replied softly. I couldn't hide my surprise. At this moment, Lu Ruyan's fingers rested on the black coffee cup, contrasting with and highlighting her long, slender, straight, and fair hands. As someone obsessed with appearance and hands, my gaze was completely captivated. Lu Ruyan picked up her coffee, took a sip, and said, "I have seen your group photos. In the past, our group of close friends often went out for dinners and trips, and we indeed took many photos." I touched my face, secretly delighted that she at least had an impression of me. I summoned my courage and asked, "Dr. Lu, what do you think of my looks?" Lu Ruyan, who was looking down sipping her coffee, suddenly raised her eyes to look at me. I guessed this was her first time being asked such a question by a guy, and she must have felt somewhat astonished. Unlike her younger sister's seductive charm, Lu Ruyan's facial features and temperament were cold and elegant. Her eyes possessed a sharp and piercing power. My fluttering, excited heart gradually calmed down under her gaze. Being stared at by her like this made me feel flustered, so I quickly picked up my coffee cup and took a big gulp to cover my embarrassment. After a brief silence, Lu Ruyan slowly spoke, her tone incredibly gentle, good-looking. It was all over, my mind was filled with nothing but the pounding sound of my heartbeat. Her single phrase good-looking surpassed all the compliments on my appearance I had ever heard in my past 20-odd years. My face flushed, and my gaze involuntarily drifted to Lu Ruyan's lips. They looked incredibly kissable. I lost myself in thought for a brief moment, until a loud argument from a couple at the neighboring table erupted, pulling my drifting thoughts back to reality. The arguing woman suddenly picked up. The cup on the table was violently smashed to the ground, and a broken piece flew in my direction. Lu Ruyan reached out his hand to block it for me, his brow furrowing slightly. The thank you caught in my throat, my pupils contracting when I saw that Lu Ruyan's ring finger and index finger were cut open, with bright red blood gushing out. That was the hand that held the scalpel. My heart clenched instantly. Under Lu Ruyan's astonished gaze, I grabbed his hand and put the 2 injured fingers into my mouth. A few seconds later, I spat them out tremblingly, my voice shaking, "Hurry back to the hospital and check your wound." As soon as I looked up, I met Lu Ruyan's dark, deep eyes. On his fingertips, there was a mixture of sticky clear fluid and red blood. He watched silently for a few seconds before pulling his hand back, calming me down in turn. "It's just a scratch, I'm fine." I was still worried, so I stood up and pulled him away. I wanted to accompany him to the hospital, but Lu Ruyan refused. "It's working hours, you should go back to your office." When we reached the intersection, he told me to go back. I didn't linger, said thank you, and parted ways with him. Lu Ruyan watched my figure walk away, then looked down at his own hand. He flexed his fingers slightly, his eyes wavering. I insisted on sending messages to Lu Ruyan every day, and I often crossed paths with him during lunch hour. However, his attitude was always plain and calm, giving me a sense of helpless frustration and a little depression. I decided to make a bold move. No sooner said than done, I chose a day to bring lunch to his department. I made a high-profile entrance, specially wearing a black suit and styling my hair. I smiled and asked almost every passing nurse and doctor, "Hello, where is Dr. Lu Ruyan's department?" Under everyone's curious and gossiping gazes, I found Lu Ruyan. Seeing me, a hint of surprise and momentary daze appeared on his face, but quickly faded away. "Why are you here?" "Dr. Lu, let's have lunch together." I put the takeout container on his desk. Lu Ruyan looked at the rich meal and said, "There's no need for you to bring me food." I replied to her, "I like you, I'm willing to do it." Hearing this, Lu Ruyan didn't say a word, her gaze directed towards the door. I turned around and found a few people poking their heads around the entrance. Meeting my gaze, they smiled awkwardly. I offered a friendly smile, "Hello, everyone." They immediately replied, "Hello, hello. Who are you to Dr. Lu? Her boyfriend? How long have you two been dating?" Right in front of everyone, I leaned in close to Lu Ruyan, calling out wife at a distance of less than a finger's width. Lu Ruyan's usually calm eyes rippled with emotion, and she moved her face slightly away. Outside the door, surprised gasps could be heard one after another. I flashed a mischievous grin as if my prank had succeeded. "Just kidding, we haven't reached that stage yet. But if things go smoothly, you all should be able to drink our wedding wine this year. Please help me keep an eye on Dr. Lu, and don't let any other men get close to her." Lu Ruyan stood up and shut the door amidst her colleagues' protests. It shut out the gossiping eyes outside, and also put an end to my nonsense. I teased her, "Closing the door isn't very good, is it? Later they might think you're playing office roleplay. You look beautiful in that white coat. Guess what I was thinking when I saw you?" My eyes stared straight at her. Lu Ruyan's hand holding the doorknob tightened slightly. For once, I saw a flush of pink creeping up the tips of her ears. It turned out that Lu Ruyan couldn't withstand this kind of teasing. She wasn't always as unshakable as a mountain. Instantly, I felt an urge to play with her even more. She lectured me, you need to conduct yourself with dignity. Don't casually say things like that to the opposite sex." I grabbed Lu Ruyan as she passed by, my hand sliding down her arm to hold her hand. She froze in shock. I smiled slightly, "I only say it to you, I've never said it to anyone else." After speaking, I lifted Lu Ruyan's hand to inspect it. The previous wound had healed long ago, leaving only 2 faint scars where the skin had mended. My fingertips gently brushed over those 2 tiny scars. Lu Ruyan's lowered eyelashes trembled slightly, and she abruptly pulled her hand back. I pouted, as it was rare to have an excuse to touch those hands of hers. Being this beautiful, yet she won't even let me touch her. Lu Ruyan glanced at me, then sat down right next to me. She picked up her chopsticks and began to eat. I rested my chin on my left hand, watching her. How could someone look so elegant and beautiful even while eating? Her rosy lips parted slightly, and I suddenly blurted out, "Lu Ruyan, can I kiss you?" Lu Ruyan's hand, which was picking up food, froze. She immediately ordered me to leave. "Aren't you supposed to go home?" So serious, no fun at all. I stopped joking around and obediently picked up my chopsticks to eat. Once I finished, I would leave right away. After finishing the meal, Lu Ruyan handed me a cup of tea. She cleaned up the table and took the trash outside to throw it away. I took a sip of tea and began to examine her office. My eyes swept over the items on her desk, finally landing on her long coat. The coat had slipped onto the floor at some point, caught by the chair. I stood up and walked over to pick it up. My gaze suddenly froze as I picked up a black card, the Dark Knight Count card. I stared at the face of the card, feeling as if I had some recollection of this name. Where had I heard it before? So, I took a picture with my phone and placed the card back into her coat pocket. Without waiting for Lu Ruyan to return, I quickly left, because I had already recalled what that card represented. Shock and disbelief flooded my brain. It seemed Lu Ruyan was not as noble as I had imagined. I immediately made a phone call. An impatient, lazy male voice answered from the other end. "What's up?" I asked. "Qin Yi, Dark Knight is your family's property, right?" "Qin Yi is my childhood friend." Hearing my question, his tone became completely shocked. "Why are you asking about this?" I replied, "I want to go in and take a look." The other side let out an angry shout. "Is that a place you can just go to? Have you gone mad?" Under my persistence, Qin Yi had to agree, on the condition that he must accompany me. I had no problem with that. Dark Knight is a private VIP club. The membership screening process is extremely high and complex, making it almost impossible for ordinary people to catch even a glimpse of it. Under Qin Ye's guidance, we put on masks and entered the Dark Knight Club. As we stepped into the private elevator, my face beneath the mask revealed a shocked expression. Just as the elevator doors were closing, a white figure flashed across my vision. That figure was someone I had seen countless times. Looking at that figure, even with just a fleeting glance, I could recognize her. It was Lu Ruyan. Until the elevator doors shut tightly, I still hadn't snapped out of it. Speculation was one thing, but actually witnessing it was another indescribable feeling. The elevator stopped on the top floor, and I followed Qin Yi into an extremely large surveillance room. On a wall densely packed with electronic screens, another absurd and extravagant world was revealed. In the center of the magnificent hall was a stage hosting an 18+ performance, with the onlookers all wearing different masks. Those who came here to perform did so voluntarily, without any coercion. There are always some people who hide their secret hobbies under a decent appearance. Qin Yi said as he handed me a file. "Members' personal information is top secret, I can't tell you too much. The person you want to investigate has the highest tier of membership card. Not many people have it, and whoever got it must have some connection with my maternal aunt. While other things cannot be disclosed, I can make an exception to tell you about her check-in records and spending habits, but that's as far as it goes." I took the file and flipped through it. Lu Ruyan didn't come here often, about once a month. Each time she came, she only watched performances in her private room and left immediately afterward, without any additional behavioral demands or social interactions. "Is there surveillance in the VIP room?" I asked. "There is in the living room, but not in the bedroom," Qin Yi replied. "Can I see it?" Qin Yi showed an embarrassed expression. "Pei Yu, this belongs to my family, but it's under my aunt's name. If I do this today, I will definitely get scolded when I go back." I sighed, my tone sorrowful. "When we were kids, you were timid and sickly, constantly getting bullied, and I was always the one protecting you. I fought other boys for you and almost got disfigured. In middle school, you didn't know how to swim. During summer camp, you ran off to the river by yourself to catch fish and almost drowned. It was me who found you and saved you. Before, you had a crush on Lu Chu and set up a fight with Jiang Chuan. You got beaten so badly you couldn't get up, and it was me who carried you on my back to the hospital." I listed the past details one by one. Qin Yi clutched his head and apologized repeatedly. My bad, my bad. All right, I get it. Go ahead, watch, I can handle things on this side." I smiled and patted his shoulder. "Good friend." Qin Yi also showed me the image of Lu Ruyan's room. The living room was decorated in an ancient and elegant style. She wore a black mask covering half of her face, leaning back against a wooden chair with a soft cushion, holding a wine glass and drinking slowly. If it weren't for the one-way glass wall showing what she was watching, someone who didn't know would think she was enjoying some high-class art performance. Lu Ruyan like this was so unfamiliar. By day, she was an elegant and gentle lady. By night, she fell into a den of sin. She was both silent and mysteriously dangerous, the rule of the deep sea, the prosperity and coldness of the dense forest. Looking at Lu Ruyan, I suddenly wanted to hear her voice. So I took my phone out of my pocket and called Lu Ruyan. The woman on the screen stared at her phone for a while before answering. A cold female voice sounded through the speaker. "Hello, Lu Ruyan speaking. What's the matter? What are you doing?" "Watching a performance." "What kind of performance?" "We'll watch it together next time." Lu Ruyan did not answer my question but asked back, "Is there anything on your mind?" Facing things she didn't want to say or couldn't say, she didn't choose to lie but chose to evade. I suddenly became a bit stubborn. What if I kept pressing? "You still haven't answered me. What kind of performance is it?" There was silence on the other end of the line. On the screen, Lu Ruyan's index finger tapped lightly on the phone case. Just when I thought she wouldn't answer, Lu Ruyan spoke in a calm tone. "Performance art." "Yeah." I was stunned. She just said it naturally like that, without any concealment, not even a word of refinement. It was so frank that I didn't know what to say. I stammered, Do you like this?" "Lately, there have been a bit too many surgeries." Lu Ruyan answered off topic. For a moment, I didn't react and was a bit confused. She continued, "Long hours of high concentration make me feel tired. These bloody images actually help me relieve pressure and relax my mind," putting away the stack of medical files. On the screen, she raised a hand in front of her eyes to observe, and finally slowly closed and lowered it. Lu Ruyan paused for a moment and directly stated her conclusion. "Spiritually, there is a need to release pressure." Throughout the entire process, her tone was very calm, showing no concern that I now knew her secret. I heard and understood it all, but my emotions at this moment were somewhat complex and difficult to put into words. For a moment, I fell silent. Shock, panic, and heartache, every emotion intertwined with one another. Yet in the end, I felt a bit joyful because Lu Ruyan did not hide anything. She had shared the darkest secret of her soul with me. The silence stretched on, and Lu Ruyan spoke first, returning to their initial conversation. "Is there any reason you called me?" I stared at Lu Ruyan on the screen, replying in a relaxed tone, "I wanted to tell you that the moonlight tonight is beautiful. This time it is not the first day of the lunar month, nor is it raining. The moon is gorgeous, and I wanted you to see it too." On the screen, Lu Ruyan stood up and walked over to another window, opening it. She leaned slightly, looking up at the night sky. The unshaded half of her face revealed an exquisitely beautiful jawline. "I see the moon, it is indeed very beautiful." After returning home that day, I stayed up all night thinking. Humans sometimes indeed have some peculiar hobbies, just like how I like to peep, and Lu Ruyan is just a bit more unique. My mind was filled with two images, the noble and upright Lu Ruyan of daytime, and the mysterious and dangerous Lu Ruyan in the dark of night. Clearly they were the same woman, yet she seemed split into two distinct personalities. She admitted she was an S, but in practice she was not, which was something I still could not quite accept. The next morning, I sent a message to Lu Ruyan. "Are you an S?" "No." "Are you an M?" "No." "Then you are human." After this period of chatting, I also discovered that Lu Ruyan possessed a touch of dry humor. She had always been single, perhaps even she did not know her own inclination, or what she would actually like in reality. Pursuing her for 2 months, the greatest progress was learning her deepest secret. It could be inferred that she was actually very. Let's take a gamble, but guessing back and forth is so annoying, I won't guess anymore. I called Lu Ruyan directly and asked, "Do you like me?" A long silence made me lose heart, and I understood. I hung up the phone. It was so annoying. I hate those cold, aloof types the most. It is the final stage of my pursuit anyway, and with no results in sight, it's time to retreat. I drafted a message and sent it over. "Dr. Lu, I won't like you anymore. I am too tired of chasing you. Since you don't like me, I won't bother you anymore. Thinking about it carefully, you are older than me, and we indeed have a generation gap. I'm off to find someone else to date. Farewell. After sending the message, I directly blacklisted and deleted Lu Ruyan. On the 5th day of no contact with Lu Ruyan, my family arranged a blind date for me. I dressed up and went to meet the girl introduced by my family, deliberately choosing that same coffee shop from last time. My blind date partner had a decent appearance and spoke well, but I felt she couldn't compare to Lu Ruyan in any way. She wasn't as tall, as beautiful, or as elegant as Lu Ruyan. After sitting and talking with her for less than 10 minutes, I felt extremely annoyed. I realized that except for Lu Ruyan, I couldn't seem to accept any other woman. Be it physiologically or psychologically, the mere thought disgusted me. I kept gazing toward the entrance. Why hadn't Lu Ruyan arrived yet? Usually, if nothing went wrong, she would come to buy coffee at this hour. Amidst my eager anticipation, Lu Ruyan finally made her appearance. As soon as she entered the coffee shop, she saw me, and our eyes met in mid-air. I calmly withdrew my gaze and smiled at my date. Encouraged, she spoke even more enthusiastically. Out of the corner of my eye, I kept tracking Lu Ruyan's every move. I didn't register a single word of what the person across from me was rambling about. To my disappointment, Lu Ruyan left right after buying her coffee. As soon as she left, I immediately ended the blind date. Just as I stepped out of the coffee shop, Lu Ruyan, who was waiting outside, grabbed my hand. She looked at me and said, "I have something to say to you." I shook off her hand. "Sorry, I don't have time. Dr. Lu, I'm busy with blind dates." I got into my blind date's car under the gloomy gaze of Lu Ruyan. Through the car window, I watched Lu Ruyan's retreating back as he turned and walked away. After the blind date, I called Chinyi. "Are you still alive?" "Nonsense, this young master will live a long life. I owed you a meal last time, free tonight?" "I'll make it up to you." "All right, see you tonight." That evening, Chen Yi and I met at a Chinese restaurant. His complexion didn't look too good, it seemed he had just been lectured by his maternal aunt. Feeling a bit guilty, I asked, "Are you okay?" Chen Yi sat opposite me, doing great. "How could you be so ruthless? What do you think? Every industry has its rules and integrity. I broke the rules and compromised the confidentiality of Dark Knight, so of course, I had to be punished." "Sorry, you've had it rough." Chen Yi flipped through the menu and replied lazily, "Not rough, just a hard life." While we were eating and chatting, several people walked out of a large private room in the hallway ahead. One of them exclaimed, "Dr. Lu, is that your boyfriend?" Hearing this, Lu Ruyan looked over at me, his gaze sweeping past Chen Yi sitting opposite me, and his eyes darkened. Chen Yi winked at me, "Is that him?" I nodded. "Good taste, but can you accept that little hobby of his?" "I haven't caught up to him yet, currently I am backing out." Chen Yi smiled and nodded, "Pay you, you're not bad. Do you need me to add some fuel to the fire?" "What?" Chen Yi suddenly reached out to wipe the corner of my lips. After wiping, the two of us stared at each other for a few seconds, simultaneously feeling a chill down our spines. But this trick actually worked. The always calm and self-controlled Lu Ruyan took long strides towards me, grabbed my wrist, and pulled me outside. "Lu Ruyan, let go of me." Lu Ruyan pulled me into a small alley next to the restaurant and only let go when he heard me speak. I rubbed my wrist, which had already been pinched red. The alley had no lights, with only the residual light projected from the windows of the adjacent building. Though there was a faint halo, it remained extremely dark. Lu Ruyan cast his eyes down onto my reddened wrist, and I heard him say, "I'm sorry." I made up my mind not to pay him any attention, intending to remain cold to the very end. I turned around to walk out, but this time Lu Ruyan grabbed my hand. My heart fluttered, and a numb sensation traveled from my palm straight to my heart. I struggled slightly, but she held on very tightly. "Lu Ruyan, what on earth do you want? When I was always running after you, you didn't care." Now that I stopped chasing you, you're unhappy instead? Lu Ruyan's face showed even more exquisite features in the dim light. The contoured light and shadow outlines were different from her usual aloofness, showing a sense of aggression. Her usually calm eyes were now staring at me somewhat stubbornly. I heard her ask, "What did you say during your last phone call?" I was stunned for a moment, followed immediately by ignited anger. She has the nerve to bring it up? Don't you know what I said? Do you still want to humiliate me to my face? I didn't pick up. Lu Ruyan's words instantly extinguished my anger. Lu Ruyan's tone was calm. Hey, Mei Chiu accidentally swiped the answer button. I was in the bathroom at the time. Hey, Mei Chiu was that little black dog. I stared blankly at Lu Ruyan, feeling both absurd and speechless in my heart. After a moment of silence, my tone was still unpleasant. So what? It doesn't matter anymore. Anyway, the message I sent was very clear. You are too hard to pursue, I don't want to chase you anymore, I'm tired. You don't like me, so I won't bother you anymore, I'll switch to liking someone else. I looked at our intertwined hands and said, you are not allowed to hold my hand, let go. Lu Ruyan didn't let go. Who said I don't like you? I showed an unbelievable expression. Under the night sky, Lu Ruyan's eyes were quiet and serious. Her voice was neither light nor heavy, but every word struck me until my head went dizzy. If I didn't like you, I wouldn't have honestly revealed my secrets to you. If I didn't like you, I wouldn't have obsessively asked what you said on the phone. Pei Yu, I like you. I did respond before. Before I could recover from the pleasant surprise of Lu Ruyan's I like you, I was confused by her phrase responded before. You, when did you respond? Have I lost my memory? Didn't you say the moon is beautiful tonight as a confession to me? I responded, the moon is indeed beautiful. My feelings were very complicated, extremely complicated. Next time, I won't do such a subtle and high-end indirect confession again. Huh? You apologized? Who could have understood that? Then why didn't you come looking for me for 5 consecutive days? Lu Ruyan explained, you blocked me. I had to go on an urgent business trip that night and only returned this morning. Just thinking about those 5 restless days makes me angry. It turns out it was all a misunderstanding. Couldn't you just directly say you like me? Usually, your attitude is so cold. How could I possibly understand what "is the moon beautiful" meant? Wait, who? Lu Ruyan rushed into my arms, wrapping her hands tightly around my waist. From her chest, her voice vibrated, I like you. I suddenly fell silent, quietly feeling her breath. In the deserted alley, my heart was pounding furiously. I hugged Lu Ruyan and reminded her, this time, you confessed first, and you are the one pursuing me again. I'll have to consider it for 2 days. I heard a soft chuckle as Lu Ruyan replied, MHM. She stepped out of my embrace and looked up at me, feeling a bit unreal. Looking at this face that I yearned for every night, I suddenly felt a bit thirsty. Looking at Lu Ruyan, I said, can I kiss you now? Lu Ruyan's eyes flickered, then she raised her head, stood on her tiptoes, and kissed my lips. It was just a light touch before she pulled back. Dissatisfied, I immediately chased after her. Having no experience, I could only clumsily nibble. It was also Lu Ruyan's first time, so she let me take the initiative for a moment before responding. She was gentle and slow, then as if finding her own rhythm, after a while of clumsy exploration, she gradually took control. Her entire body grew hot, and her frame went slightly soft, causing her to involuntarily wrap her arms around my neck. I supported her waist, my palms burning hot as they touched her skin through the thin fabric of her clothes. Until a feeling of breathlessness arose, she gently tapped on my back, and only then did I pull back. Lu Ruyan's fingertips brushed over my swollen red lips, her elegant voice asking, hungry? Let's go eat, okay? I nodded. After confirming our relationship with Lu Ruyan, I clung to her constantly, especially loving to embrace her. Each time, she would look at me with a pampered yet helpless gaze and say, "Pei Yu, you are so bad." After completing the marriage procedures, on Father Lu's birthday, she took me back home to meet her family. Jiang Chuan was especially delighted, even happier than I was. He had tipped me off in advance, "Don't worry, your father-in-law is a very nice person. He saw you at my wedding and had a good first impression of you." Lu Chu also expressed her admiration to me, "You're amazing. You actually won over my sister, that 10,000-year iceberg." Father Lu's birthday was simple, just a cozy family dinner. When we met, I heard the three people next to me all calling out Dad, Mom. When it was my turn to greet him, meeting Father Lu's gaze, I blurted out, "Dad." The scene fell silent for a brief moment, and Jiang Chuan was the first to burst into laughter. Lu Chu looked at me in surprise and teased, "You are truly incredible." Realizing it a bit late, I felt embarrassed and huddled closer to Lu Ruyan. She gently squeezed my palm, a soft, warm smile playing on her lips. Father Lu was only startled for a second before smiling and responding. Everyone was very happy at Father Lu's birthday banquet, but I noticed a small detail. While Lu Chu joked around with their parents, making the two elders laugh constantly, Lu Ruyan just watched in silence. Even at home, she maintained that same indifferent demeanor. Though she was warmer and less distant than she was to outsiders, there seemed to be a polite distance between her and her parents, close but not intimate. I couldn't help but remember that Lu Ruyan had grown up away from her parents for a long period during her childhood. With her naturally aloof personality, she probably never acted spoiled or threw tantrums like other children when she returned, growing up independently and excellently all on her own. My heart ached for her immensely. After dinner, while walking in the garden, I couldn't resist hugging her tightly. Lu Ruyan asked me in a low voice, "What's wrong?" I tightened my embrace around her, "I miss you." "Aren't I right by your side?" "Even so, I still miss you." "Don't mind me, I just miss you anyway." Lu Ruyan laughed softly in my arms, gently patting my back comfortingly, "Don't be unhappy. I'm fine, really." I let go of her and looked down, slightly surprised by her perception. She knew exactly what was on my mind. It would have been fine if she hadn't said anything, but hearing her say this only made me feel. I surrender. The aloof flower in my heart has now turned into a clingy high little white flower. Lu Ruyan, not knowing what else to do, gently kissed the corner of my mouth. Seeing me pout, she stood on her tiptoes and gave me a kiss as gentle as water. But before I could push her away, she held my arm tightly. The kiss was no longer gentle, but filled with burning desire. I had no strength to resist, the intense love made my blood boil, craving for more. When we parted, Lu Ruyan looked at me silently. She softly asked, "Can we hold the wedding earlier?" The proposal to hold it early was rejected by the elders. The set date was already the best day in the near future, and it couldn't be moved up even a bit. However, while the wedding couldn't be earlier, getting married legally could. Holding the marriage certificate with Lu Ruyan on the way home, I was extremely excited. I kept staring at our photo together in the booklet, smiling with absolute satisfaction. We look so compatible and beautiful, truly a match made in heaven. I posted it on my Moments, and immediately, a flurry of congratulations appeared below. Jiang Chuan privately messaged me a bunch of tips, adding at the end, "Take care of your health." I scrolled through what he sent, looked at it for a while, and then turned to look at Lu Ruyan, who was driving. She threw a puzzled look at me. I pondered for a moment, then hesitantly spoke up, "Huh? Do you like watching those things? You know, in that aspect?" I asked extremely implicitly. Lu Ruyan immediately understood, "I've watched them, but only out of curiosity. I don't have those thoughts or desires, so you don't need to worry." I breathed a sigh of relief, yet felt a tiny bit of regret. Lu Ruyan glanced at me and said, "If you are curious, I can learn." My face turned red. "Who likes those random things?" "I don't like them, not even a bit curious." The corner of Lu Ruyan's mouth curled up slightly. That night, I personally experienced what it meant to be in both pain and pleasure, making me unable to resist covering her mouth. When I questioned her afterward, she answered with an incredibly upright attitude, saying this was one of the ways to boost the mood and promote intimacy between men and women. She said she was still learning more about this aspect to give me a better experience. Even someone as thick-skinned as me had to admit defeat, completely outmatched. Side story, one day after our marriage, while cleaning Lou Ruyen's room, I found an old photo. I immediately ran to the study and questioned Lou Ruyen, who was staring at her computer. Lou Ruyen, why do you have a picture of me that even I didn't know existed? Holding the photo, I walked to Lou Ruyen's desk and placed it firmly in front of her. She lowered her eyes to stare at the photo, a gentle warmth washing over her gaze. She softly said, I took it. In the photo, I was sitting under a blooming magnolia tree, holding the front paws of a large orange tabby cat. I was smiling slightly, looking at the cat's completely speechless face. The scene was incredibly warm and beautiful. Indeed, I had a vague recollection of this. 2 years ago, during Lu Chu's birthday, I came to the Lu family mansion with my friends to attend her birthday party. I had accidentally wandered into the courtyard with the magnolia tree and spotted the sleeping orange tabby cat. I held its paws and unilaterally danced with it. It had a very good temper, though speechless, it cooperated with me. A large magnolia tree stood right in front of Lou Ruyen's room. She had actually seen me long before, not just through this photo. Lou Ruyen pulled me down to sit on her lap and whispered, actually, I was the one who fell in love first. I looked at her in shock. It turned out that the person I fell in love with at first sight had already harbored deep feelings for me long ago, yet she disguised herself as prey to lure me toward her step by step. What a cunning, sweet-faced but dark-hearted Lou Ruyen. 2 years ago, while playing happily with the cat under the magnolia tree, I had casually glanced up and caught sight of a woman's figure standing on the 3rd floor in the distance. The wind billowed the white sheer curtains, and I was unable to see her face clearly. Later, I was called away by a friend who came looking for me. I told him, I just saw a young woman standing by the window on the 3rd floor of that building, but I couldn't see her face clearly. My friend thought for a moment and replied, that courtyard belongs to Lu Chu's eldest sister. I followed up, eldest sister? Is it that academic genius Lou Ruyen? I turned around to look back, but the person by the window was already gone. I picked up the photo on the desk. The faded, blurry memories of the past suddenly burst into vibrant colors through the photograph in front of me. Each scene became crystal clear, bringing a delightful surprise as if traveling through time. The end.